I guess a couple things that I heard that I want to touch on is, there's a lot of MCs that are in the game, majors, that have been accused of having ghostwriters. Nas wasn't the first one. It's even less artists who have said they've used ghostwriter. Diddy is one of the main ones who's come out and said, look, yes, I use ghostwriters, but but he still claims that he wrote half his album, and he still was able to do sales and do whatever. Now there was
on paper he may have written half his album. He may have gotten half the credit and half the money. You know what I mean? If you look at the split sheets, you can see that doesn't necessarily mean that's how the work was divided up. Just saying.
And thank you. And Lil Wayne went through something. I want to say right when he. Lil Wayne's been around for a while, but when he really, really broke onto the scene, like on an overall level, there were MCs that came out and said, "Look, I ghostwrite for him and Baby." So, it's I guess it's one of those things we never know, because the whole purpose of the ghostwriting is literally so that person's a ghost, and they pay that person to write and disappear. There's no credits, there's no nothing. But the two things I've heard recently, major artists have said. One, they bring in writers to help with the hooks. They always, labels want that catchy hook, and a lot of times that'll make or break a song, and so they bring in writers to help write the hook. The other thing is, and this is what I'll touch on with you, Sincere, is you said you never use ghostwriters, but Immortal Technique was talking about it. I seen the interview today, and he was saying it's hard for artists, and this is the point he was making. You're doing a tour. You're running all other businesses now, because being an artist isn't going to just pay your bills. You have to have other businesses besides just being an artist and a musician. So you're running your businesses, and you have radio interviews, you got regular interviews. If you're like a 50 Cent or even a Lil Wayne or a Jay-Z, where you have other artists that you're responsible for under your own label, you're worrying about them and what dates are coming up for them as far as an album, and you have your own, then you have a major label sweating you saying, look, we need an album in 2 weeks, but you have no material done. Is it that easy to get in the lab and bang out a full album that'll sound dope in a couple weeks? That's a spot a lot of major artists are in. And so is it okay to say, yeah, I need writers, I need help to come in and look, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that, and have writers chime in? What do you guys think about that when it's crunch time like that?
Well, I can't speak on that situation like with too much knowledge, because I'm not there. I can only assume that I'm gonna have the same practices I have now. And that's like, sometimes I listen to beats all day. Like right now, true, I do have the luxury because I happen to work in the job, and I'm there most of the day, and I happen to be able to listen to my music. And if I got a verse or something, I can pull out, my phone, type it in real quick. So I happen to have that luxury now. But like you say, if I'm doing something every day, all day, will I be able to, just do that, or just think of beats and think of lines like that? I think that I would be, just because every time I write a song now, my next question is, can I do this again? Can I make something this good or better than this? Like, I'm always questioning myself, even, from the first song I wrote, like, man, like, I can't do this again. Like, how can I make it better? So I feel like as long as I keep that drive and keep that pushing me, then I will always be able to deliver the best music. And I'm not necessarily concerned right now. I know I probably would be at the time, but right now I'm not really concerned with like time frame, because I was supposed to have like my album out in the summer. True enough, it's been done for like a year maybe, but I don't want to just, put it out there. So it's like, now I knew I got way more time, way more leisure time to just put towards that. So I can't really say what I'll be doing then to exactly break it down. But anytime, I can. Like if I'm riding, when I'm on my way to these places, nothing but beats in the car really. And whatever I get, write something down. With, you touched on the ghostwriting too. I do want to say, like, it's not, I do write all my own lyrics, but with, like I said, as far as ideas and stuff go, shout out to M City and Prophet and Street Fighter and all of them, because that's who I make music with. But I'm not going to sit here and say that we wasn't freestyling or rapping one day. One of them said a hook, and I was like, oh, that's hot. And then, you know, we end up making a song out of it, and I put it on my mixtape. It's like, I'm not going to say that never happened, because I know that it has. And I'm not going to say it won't happen, but like you say, like, that's how people come up with hooks or whatever, and they need that catchy hook. As far as, like, my lyrics or, you know, my bars, my 16s that I write, nobody ever wrote a 16 and handed it to me and said, rap this. You know? So if that's ghostwriting, then hey, but that's, you know, that's how I would, you know, declare it as far as going from, you know, artists using them for hooks and everything. And one more thing, shout out to Starlito. I gotta say that you touched on the Lil Wayne ghostwriting thing, and I really, really do believe he had ghostwriting.
Yeah.
No, I use ghostwriters all the time, man. I don't write no lyrics, man, at all. None. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can't really relate to anything in terms of the major music industry. All I can do is go from my perspective, and mine is, you know, I work a 9 to 5, I work a professional job, and I really don't have a lot of time to do music per se. So my time is like lunchtime. I'll go on my iPad, I'll make some beats, I'll write some rhymes, you know, hopefully sync that up with my Evernote or something like that. Come back home, take care of my kids, you know, do some laundry, like do some regular things that I got to do. Then I'll be up at like, you know, 1 o'clock in the morning still making beats. So that's kind of how I've done it, or I'll just stop whatever I'm doing and then, you know, just write out my lyrics. But in terms of like major artists, I mean, I don't see why, you know, they have tour buses. I know they have to sleep, you know, after different shows, but we have the technology now. We have like everything on a MacBook. A whole studio can be right there. So, you know, you can have, all you really need is a MIDI controller if you're a producer. If you're a writer, all you really need is some sort of device like an iPad or iPhone, smartphone, or, you know, a nice piece of paper that you can keep track of to keep all your lyrics together and then, you know, put it together. But, you know, I really don't know. I mean, it's got to be a tough situation to handle all your business and at the same time do it. And I've seen Jay-Z do that, and it's actually come out in his rhymes. And that's the beautiful thing I really respect about Jay-Z, because it's kind of like, you know, he just keeps going and going and going, and then he writes about everything that he's done. Like, it seems like he's always in the moment, and then he writes about it. And I think that's why people actually feel his music. But in terms of ghostwriters, if you got to use a ghostwriter, well, you know, I'll sell you a verse, you know, whatever, man. You know, come talk to me, DLOTheIceman.com. Come hit me up. I mean, I'll help you out. But for my crew, though, we work off each other's energy. So I'm in a whole band called Dimite, and for hooks, we usually use Ja Boogie, because Ja can sing. And Ja he'll just start singing, and he'll just be like, oh, yeah, that's what we going to use. Or Laduma, you know, we critique each other's verses. So I might say something, be like, nah, son, that's whack, man. You can't, you know what I'm saying? This part right here is cool, but this kind of subpar. You know, I'll do the same thing with him. And we do the same thing with our
sometimes too.
Yeah, you need that person to critique you, to tell you it's time for you to get better at what you're doing. So
Yeah, critiquing is different from ghostwriting. That's what, even if you're not in a group, you should have somebody doing that anyway. About Jay-Z, you know, Jay-Z is just one of those few artists that doesn't even need to write, and that's what makes him even I don't want to say iller or doper, just makes him one of the select few artists, because he can do a million things and still have rhymes just stuck in his head. It's just like all day. It's like a lyric factory up there. I would love to peek at his brain and like that.
He's got a notepad inside of his brain.
Yeah, exactly. So I can tie Payne back into this a little bit. You know, it said that Ice Cube wrote for everybody in NWA. Now, what a lot of people don't realize, and you brought it up, it's something that you said artists have to live through something. Ice Cube has said before, he didn't really gangbang and he didn't shoot people and he wasn't on that. He just seen people doing that. So his rhymes weren't exactly about his life per se. It was about friends that were doing it, things he was seeing in his environment. So if an artist can write and do lyrics about something that they're not themselves living through, what's the difference between that and someone using a ghostwriter?
Like, to that extent, like you say, he wasn't shooting and doing, you know what I'm saying, things or whatever himself, but the people he grew up with, his family members, you know, people he living with that he go outside and see every day is doing that. It's different from me, you know, like, say I lived out here all my life, you know, straight A student, all of that, and I see TV or I hear other raps about it, and then I'm like, hey, I could do that, and then I start writing raps like that and then selling them to people. And yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it'll be ghostwriting still. Like, even what he did was ghostwriting, you know what I'm saying? But it'll just be looked upon different, like, this the guy that's writing, you know what I'm saying, your raps or whatever. Like, it'll just, even when people find out that that's the guy, you know what I'm saying, that this is who doing it, if they ever do, it's still gonna take credit away from, you know what I'm saying, that artist.
Then I got another question to tie that in, and it works with you. You grew up in Chicago. You grew up on a different side of Chicago than I did. So what you seen and what you did was different from what I seen and what I did. But if I said to you, I want to do this song, well, obviously I'm not an artist. I'm not going to sit here and write. I say, Sincere, write that for me. Does that make me whack? Because you seen it, you lived it, you wrote it, and I'm just my character is able to portray that message.
Yeah, I mean, put it this way, I say this, you can have those songs all day. I sell you them songs all day. I can't sell you none of my stuff because I love it too much. But if that's what you wanted, I would write something like that and sell it to somebody because I use that money to put my album out. So it's like, that's how I would do that. But in terms of hip hop, or even as far as how I would feel, that person or that artist would still be a phony. And if I ever found out that they had a ghostwriter, especially, like, I'm not the biggest Eazy-E fan. I'm way more of a Eazy-E. Anybody in NWA, I'm way more Ice Cube fan than I am of them. And even though, like you say, Ice Cube didn't live that stuff or whatever, he, you know what I'm saying, lived through that or seen it or whatever, he didn't partake in it, but he's seen it and everything. So, and he didn't, when he got older, he don't still rap like that. You know what I'm saying? He rapped about other stuff and try to put people on now. So you could definitely tell that he probably didn't do all of that stuff or whatever. But, you know, that's what he did. I want to say that even when he was doing his albums, he wasn't really, you know what I'm saying, kind of talking, once he did Ice Cube solos, you know, it was more like you say America, you know what I'm saying, Most Wanted and all of that, Lethal Injection type stuff. It wasn't really NWA like type material. So, you know, that's just as far as him being the artist, so he's still an artist. But yeah, like, I would still say that you would be a phony if I wrote that song and gave it to you and, you know, you didn't actually write that song. I don't know how to speak of, like, I wouldn't know what to say if that person actually lived that lifestyle, though. Like, I don't know, like, if that person lived that lifestyle and somebody else just wrote it, because it's kind of like, okay, you probably did do all of that, but you didn't write these lyrics. So on one half, I'm like, on the hip hop side, I can't like you as a rapper, but as a person, at least you real. But I do that sometimes. A lot of people raps I don't like. I don't like Rick Ross raps. He rapped the same way on everything. But as a person, the businessman and all of that, he real as hell. Every time I see him, he real. I would sign with MMG off of Rick Ross because he just cool to me every time I see him. Of course, I have to see. But, you know, just from what I see, like, he don't seem like that. So I separate, you know, my artists all the time because I'm always, like, watching interviews or whatever. Because I can't just, like, nowadays, I can't just go off your music because it's a lot of that going around. And everybody say the same thing, too, so.
Well, I think this whole ghostwriting thing, whatever you want to call it, is going to really start dying out, or it already has started dying out. So it's not going to be an issue 10 years from now. And I say that because whereas back in the time of NWA, not everybody rapped. Nowadays, your grandmother raps, her dog raps, the hamster in the house raps, the kid next door comes over and raps. You know what I mean? So and none of them can afford a ghostwriter, so they're just writing their own music, and it might be terrible, but at the end of the day, they're still rapping, and they're still on that piff, and they're still putting out 80 mixtapes a week. So as those artists start to enter into the mainstream, you know, even right now, I can't picture an artist like Meek Mill getting a ghostwriter, and he's a contemporary hip hop artist. So when you think about all the people coming up in this current generation of hip hop, they don't even know about the LL stuff. They don't even know about the Ice Cube stuff. So that may not even be on their radar. And it may not even be a matter of it being frowned upon like it was during our generation growing up. But I don't even know that it was frowned upon on our generation growing up, because if you had told everybody that Ice Cube was writing NWA's lyrics, I don't think anyone's head would have exploded back then, just because, You know what I mean? Rap was relatively new. It wasn't what it is now. It's not this huge global phenomenon. It was getting there. Now rap is just what it is. Flip side of that coin, though, it is also pop music. So you may have a lot of artists whose fans would excuse that kind of thing when they start crossing over into pop and start flirting with more popular music, because I guess in a lot of people's opinions, which I don't agree with, but it's a popular opinion, pop music has less feeling and less emotion and less meaning than quote unquote real music, whatever the hell that means. But you know, whatever, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. So people may excuse pop music, just, you know, whatever kind of music, party music, whatever the case may be, if it's not written by the artist who's performing it. I don't necessarily know. I think it's great. I think all of this is gray area, but it's another interesting thing to consider.
Did you want to touch in on a?
I think that, you know, if someone else is writing your stuff, that I would think they're whack. Honestly, I would, straight up, because if you think about it, if you're an artist, you're supposed to be creating art. So let's say you want to do a picture, like that picture sitting right over there. I draw the picture for you. You put your name on it. Yeah, this is me right here. You know what I'm saying? Like, you didn't even make it. So I respect you as a business person if you're trying to make a profit. Anyone that's trying to make money and, you know, support their family any way they know how, I can't hate on that. But in terms of your artistry, you're not really an artist. Maybe you could learn from the person that was doing it for you and you'll become one. But that's just how I feel about the topic. Man.
Well, I'm gonna come back to that one because I actually have a sort of a rebuttal for that one. I want to go there with you, but before we do that, let's go to the next video. It's from @KingChronos @99. The song is called "Brighter Pasture."
I spent the last 5 years of life chasing the past, overlooking my future as the present would pass. Blame off on another, it never was my problem. 50 million questions in my head with no drive to solve them. The planet is revolving, the unemployed revolting. My peers are revolving to the point I hardly know them. This towel that I'm holding, prepared to be thrown in. This hand I was dealt ain't worth shit, so I'm folding. Searching for the light from the days when I was glowing. Way back before Tay's mom was showing. Warriors with Shaolin, all in, flowing from 9-9 till infinity. Me and my old friends, oblivious to time. Tell me how could I have known then? Cats I call brothers, more their enemies as grown men. Bonds split between us, the wedge was drove in. Grass never been as green as days I used to know then. Found a brighter pasture on the dark side of my mind. And in my darkest times I found a light so bright it's known to blind. If you look deep inside you'll find the strength to break that bind. Write a rhyme, expunge your stress to try to maximize your time. Found a brighter pasture on the dark side of my mind. And in my darkest times I found a light so bright it's known to blind. If you look deep inside you'll find the strength to break that bind. Write a rhyme, expunge your stress and try to maximize your time. Forlorn and forgotten mind, torn heart, rotten down, try to feed a bottom, broken spirit, smoking, emotionally open, gotten too severe to fix the rip. Sit back, sip through shit and other grit. Moments peace, the greatest gift. In due time, time's due to give me a break. For Christ's sakes, cut me some slack. How much more can I take? Honestly, ask myself how much more I can fake. Stability and happiness to reach the point where I break. You can see the rage engulf me turning red in my face. Logic dissipates, then I act the ass in the plates. Massacre mates, bloody knuckles in a hole in the wall. Mastered his fate, then he chuckles cause his soul standing tall. Hieroglyphics on his forearms, hidden under long sleeves. Prone to bleed, cause he knows it's what the song needs. Fatigue, walking down the path that takes to succeed. Goodwill and chrono, suckers follow our lead. Found a brighter pasture on the dark side of my mind. And in my darkest times I found a light so bright it's known to blind. If you look deep inside you'll find the strength to break that bind. Write a rhyme, expunge your stress and try to maximize your time. Found a brighter pasture on the dark side of my mind. And in my darkest times I found a light so bright it's known to blind. If you look deep inside you'll find the strength to break that bind. Write a rhyme, expunge your stress and try to maximize your time.